the Midtown Miami Walmart. Perla, can you read?
Yeah.
Reading the,
Midtown Miami Walmart is on the Net District Wynwood, Transact Zone SD 27-2, Midtown Miami Special District. I'm reading the latest internal plan review comments. Number 1, the retail liner along Midtown Boulevard shall be developed simultaneous with the development of the Walmart store. 2, pursuant to section 627.112A, all ground level this space designed for pedestrian-oriented uses shall have external entrances directly accessible from public sidewalks to sidewalk space. At least one external entrance shall be located along the frontage of the primary street or on the corner intersection of the primary street and any other street. Additionally, each building use, such as retail store with cafe or restaurant, shall have separate entrances. Applicant must provide detailed program for city to determine the need for additional entrances. All such entrances shall be transparent. Even though the project provides a main entrance at the intersection of North Miami Avenue and Northeast 31st Street, no other entrances are proposed to allow pedestrian access from the street public sidewalk into the Walmart retail area along North Miami Avenue. Number 3, the array of windows along North Miami Avenue provides articulation of the building facade. However, these windows do not activate the pedestrian realm into the retail, I think this width is over, into the retail component and do not provide any eyes on street. The project should include needs retail venues along North Miami Avenue, such as boutiques, cafes, and restaurants with entrances off North Miami Avenue. The assortment of retail uses could be entities often incorporated within the interiors of other Walmarts, unlike retailers such as credit union, fast food establishments, optical center, coffee shop, etc. The blank wall located at the center of the facade along North Miami Avenue should be another pedestrian entrance directly into the Walmart to complement other retail venues. 4, provide additional detailed elevations that confirm compliance. 5, provide detailed information regarding the type of vehicle expected to use the loading area in the second floor. Provide details including dimensions for any heavy vehicles accessing the loading area. Confirm that slope width and height of the entry wall allows for the proposed vehicles to access the loading area. Please add a second loading bay at the second floor loading area. Provide details for gate fence covering the loading areas. This must be closed when not in use. Specific to the larger loading area, a screen door gate facing Northeast 31st Street is needed and shall be closed except during use of loading ramp. The screening should be opaque and allow ventilation. Consider having staggered loading times for the uses to minimize conflict with passenger cars and to avoid trucks forming a queue within the loading area. Reduce the width of the parking entrance to 1 vehicle and then open up to 2 lanes once inside. Reduce the width of the curb cuts entrances to avoid conflicts with pedestrians. 6, provide details of compliance with SD 27.2 design standards, building tops and roofs standards, and intent 7.1 building top, 7.2 garage roof, 7.3 rooftops. Per public works standards, both driveways approaches exceed the maximum allowable width, which is maximum of 50 feet. 40 feet. Provide details of the mechanical space on first and second levels. Person to section 627.2.8, street grid blocks and section of streetscapes. The proposed signalized intersection of North Miami Avenue and Northeast 31st Street shall provide a pedestrian crosswalk allowing east to west transition across Miami Avenue. 10, coordinate with Miami Parking Authority concerning lost on-street parking along Northeast 31st Street. 11, please be advised that the existing storm drainage may need to be modified. Consult with the appropriate entities regarding the storm drainage plan. And 12, provide lighting and photometric plans and also specify any specialty lighting treatments. These are the comments.
Members of the board, my name is Alfredo Gonzalez. I'm an attorney with Genovese, Joblove, and Batista with offices at 100 Southeast 2nd Street, 44th floor. It's my pleasure to be here representing Walmart. With me today is Javier Fernandez, who is with Akerman Senterfitt. He represents DDR, who are the owners of the property and our contract seller. We have our entire development team here today to answer any questions that you may have. And in fact, Rob Maynard from Gensler will be addressing the technical design issues, which is, I think, what you are most important, but I thought I would give you a background of what we're doing. This is a unique, one-of-a-kind Walmart. It also includes liner space along Midtown that has been designed by the Siskowicz firm. Surya Jafar is here to address those design elements, and we'll do so after Rob. We've worked with your professional staff and continue to do so to resolve all of the issues relative to the comments that you just heard, and we're hopeful to resolve all of them. We've worked with them over a 2-year period to bring a fantastic project to you. In fact, this project is directly south of the public garage at Midtown, so it requires an anchor tenant such as Walmart to drive traffic to the area, and we think that that's going to be instrumental in making this project a great success. Our project is going to create over 400 construction jobs and over 350 permanent jobs in management and pharmacy and vision. This project in particular brings a component of a grocery store to this area, which is needed. And so we think it'll be a great success. The property is zoned on SD 27.2, which, as you know, is part of, or was part of 11,000 and was incorporated into Miami 21. So it has its own unique rules, but it allows for this type of retail facility, and it's also master planned to allow that facility. Without taking more of your time, because I know you're busy and I'll be here for additional questions, I present you Robert Maynard, who will address the technical issues of this project.
Good afternoon, everyone. Rob Maynard with Gensler, the architect hired by Walmart for this project. The Walmart project will be the south anchor for the Miami Midtown development. As seen in this slide, the parking structure, as referenced earlier, is the current south entry point of the development. And what we're looking to do is provide a project that helps to bring a more dynamic energy to the south part of the development. The Miami Midtown development is a dynamic collection of entertainment, retail, both small shops, restaurants, bars, and national retailers. And our goal is to integrate into that neighborhood feeling with a design that responds to its surroundings, as well as provides opportunities for pedestrian interaction. The current site sits vacant, so there's an extreme need for some focal point for pedestrian traffic to come to this part of the Midtown development. part of shopping that we hope to bring onto the South Block is not just going to purchase items, but going to shop, it's an interaction. You're out, you see friends, there's a livelihood of going in and out of stores and visions into stores and seeing retail and energy going on in the neighborhood. So within our site, we've oriented the entrance to the northwest corner because the rest of the Midtown development shops are mostly geared to the east, which somewhat ignores the western neighborhoods. So we want to have our building front the western neighborhood more, not turn our back on them, and provide an entry point into the Midtown development for those neighbors on the west. Aspects that are provided on North Miami Avenue, which is fronting the western neighborhood, we have a large expanse of storefront curtain wall, which visions into the main entry of Walmart, as well as the main circulation tower. And at mid-block, we're providing an exterior plaza element. So there is a point of refuge in the mid-block for people to interact, and as you're walking up and down, looking at display, looking into the retail, there's opportunities for the interactions with other pedestrians. Some of the features that we've selected for finishes are derived directly from the existing retail elements within Midtown. We've decided on using a glazed brick, both graffiti friendly as well as speaking well to the rest of the materials within Midtown. There is a lot of brick, a lot of stucco, and so we've embraced those materials and brought them to the project. We also are providing awnings and canopies and covered walkways, which help to promote pedestrian comfort along the frontage of the building, because a full block building can be rather abrupt to pedestrians. So we've broken it up with colonnades, covered canopies, awnings, as well as storefront entries for tenant spaces within the floor plan. So these are just some more blown up views of the elevations that were in the Class 2 packet, just to further explain the connection of canopy walkways, colonnades, and the views into stores, as well as highlight the planters on the exterior of the building to help bring some green to the sidewalk level, to the pedestrian level, help mitigate all of the asphalt and the concrete of North Miami and Northeast 31st Street. And this is a view of the outdoor plaza, the seating area. I really wanted to highlight this. It's tough to convey in a full block elevation, so this blow up gives you a better sense of the scale to the pedestrian with the building, and how it creates these moments of interaction with others as they walk down the block. And we also provided views from points in the neighborhood, 2 views from the west. The top view is from the northwest corner of Northeast 31st and North Miami. The goal of these views is to show that we are breaking up these elevations to make it feel as though there are groups of buildings along the frontage, not one massive building, and it providing a broken up elevation, again, for the pedestrian interaction. So more high-end rendering to give you a better sense of the scale at the corner for customers as they're at North Miami and Northeast 31st Street. and then a view up northeast 31st, or up North Miami to the corner and the outdoor plaza area and how that would be landscaped. Now for the east elevation, we have Surya Jafar from Ziskovich to walk you through their design. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Good afternoon. We were asked by our client to design this edge that will front Midtown Boulevard. There were some interesting challenges. Yes?
Same client?
No. Our clients are working together on this project.
Okay, do we have two applications or one application?
It's being brought as one application. They were told to come and present because the liner piece was a component of the overall.
So you got
block
one
bill.
property that has one owner or two owners?
You got one project with two owners. One is the Walmart development, and the other one's the liner that fronts Midtown.
Midtown Boulevard.
But they're working together as one.
Okay, so the liner that's shown in the drawings of
It's
Walmart,
actually, I think,
that's not part of the project?
It is.
Well, the liner on Midtown Boulevard, which is this liner, which is abuts the property, but together they're coming in as one application. Is that correct?
That's our
It's all
understanding.
going to be built at the same time in one building permit, and it's Surrey just concentrated on the Midtown area as it affects
And that liner is they're taking about, what's it, 40 feet from? the
35 feet.
35 feet.
I think it's appropriate that they do this because if they had not done it, we would have a lot of comments about why don't you do that? Because that liner provides that pedestrian articulation along
The continuation Midtown Boulevard, and that's where they're introducing the.
the only
liner.
unusual thing is that there are two architects.
Well,
It is-
it's beyond that, because the liner is supposed to be for every single level, cover the entire building, not just the ground floor. The liner is supposed to be in ground second.
If I may present
Third
the
level.
project, you'll see how we're accomplishing that.
Before you go, I'm just asking questions here. So my point is, what's before us are two applications or one application?
It is one application
That has two parts to it?
that has two parts. And one component is obviously the liner facing Midtown Boulevard.
And which rules? Because there's also a liner information on the set of documents from, I guess, Gensler.
No. If I may, Carmen Sanchez, our Assistant Director, will help clarify.
This is actually one application. It consists of the entire block, and that is inclusive of Walmart and the retail space that's going to front the residential across the street. So what you're seeing is one complete application. It's presented that way precisely because of the comments that we heard going back to the original application. We want to see how everything is going to affect the residential and the other components of the greater development for the Midtown area. So what you have is, in essence, one application, two different approaches. One is the liner units that Ms. Jafar will be presenting shortly to you, and that will address the project towards the residential side. Walmart, if you look at it, is actually facing the western side of the edge of the project on North Miami Avenue. But they are one application. What they're calling the liners is just retail space that's happening on the east side of that particular block. But liners in the essential sense of the word, or in the guidelines sense of the word, will be addressed by both the Walmart side and the presentation by Ms. Jafar.
Okay, so basically, where Gensler simply leaves in blank or in white the liner structure in their drawings, that's where this other part of the application picks up?
Yes.
Could you repeat, which page is it?
That's correct, Willie.
This is on
Right.
page
Okay.
A0101.
On which project? On which, the
This
Walmart
is
or
on
the,
the- on the main application.
yeah?
And
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes,
So for that, we simply go to the other portion of the application.
absolutely.
And anything related to what would be liner structure, we would go to the other.
That
Only
is
for
correct.
the eastern portion of the block.
It's only for Midtown Boulevard. Is that what I'm referring to?
That is correct.
That's the only, they're taking the edge of Midtown Boulevard, and on the first, second, and third levels, we refer to their drawing.
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So we have actually collaborated with Gensler to resolve all of the interconnectivity between their project and our project, egress issues, et cetera. So we've been collaborating for a while. As you said a minute ago, the project is 35 feet deep. So there were several challenges, interesting challenges that we wanted to resolve with this project. One is how to retain some, independent identity for this side of the street, and still resolve and work with and collaborating with the project next to us. We wanted to retain some sort of independent character within the block. The other issue is that we had an opportunity here to announce the beginning of a pedestrian street that runs right through the project. And we wanted to do it in a way that was subtle, but also distinct. And the other issue was how do we begin to break this into distinct components and yet let it operate as a single retail strip. So you can see in the plan, there's movement in the project. The piece on the southern end actually comes right to the edge of the property block, and it has a very special character that you'll see in a moment. The second piece, what we're calling Building 2, is set back 20 feet from the rest of the property, and it has a glass canopy connecting and linking all of these components. And the third piece is actually separated by a covered courtyard. And this piece has a colonnade wrapping around. Again, we wanted to emphasize these two ends of the project in order to announce the project. You can see here, we end up with, this is the first piece that we have. It's going to be a metal steel structure. And we're also evaluating what if it is a cladded metal structure. We're still evolving that concept. And we're going to have some signage above that will announce the name of the street and the project. As we've seen on Biscayne Boulevard in the past, we have the second part, Building 2, that has glass, and we'll have a glass canopy connecting and extending within the 20 feet setback that we have. And above that, we're going to have a mesh panel that will be designed to allow for ventilation into that second floor, and also to tie into the rest of the design of the project.
Excuse me, the second floor is all mechanical spaces.
Yes, correct.
In your rendering,
In one portion, it is going to be garage on the north side. If you look at the plan, we are going to clad it in glass. We feel comfortable that we can do that on that corner. And that was important in order to be able to have a nice vertical articulation on the north end. And this is the view, if you can see the rendering from the south looking north on Midtown, how the signage is going to wrap within that volume. And it's also going to come right into a green space that would be the intersection between 29th Street and Midtown Boulevard. And on the north end, you'll have the corner piece with a colonnade that wraps around that would allow for that to feel like if it is a two-story retail shop. So we will be cladding at that point the parking garage. I'll take any questions. You have any?
who wants to start? Neil or Tony?
I'm familiar with the
Boulevard, since my office is right beside it. And, I'm sorry. And I was interviewed by Channel 7 as to whether or not Walmart was an appropriate building for the neighborhood. Unfortunately, I didn't feel it was. But nonetheless, I did not see the work of the architects, and I must say that the articulation on North Miami Avenue is quite responsive to the architecture of the rest of the Midtown, and complements that. But I'm not sure with the liner. If one sit and observe what is going on in Midtown today, there's a certain ambiance that I think is very, very rich. And I'm not picking up that richness on the street of Midtown Boulevard, recognizing the quaintness of the restaurants, that we are basically accepting that that is going to be the space for wonderful restaurants. And I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing a cold articulation of exposed grid. And I'm curious as to why we went in that direction.
Yeah, well, I think it is a matter of point of view. We feel is very well articulated for what it is. It's not a monumental building. It's a simple building, and what we wanted was to weave the pieces together in a way that was that there was enough texture and character. And we feel that once the right mix of retail, as you know, it is going to be small type retail, that will bring a tremendous amount of energy into the block. We feel the character is in line with the rest of Midtown, and we wanted to just simply, like I said, weave the pieces together in a way that we could break the volumes, and that we could articulate that street with very, very simple and yet beautifully articulated materials. And I have a material board that I brought over here, so you can see that.
I'm going to push that again.
Sure.
If one look at the street where the garage is located and the open space that is on the east side of the garage, you would note that the scale of the garage that is there and the scale of that particular street, where all of us are coming out of the garage at that point, and couple that with Walmart in terms of scale, it seemed to me that the forms that you've chosen, and true, this is personal stuff.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with anything other than my trip, you know? But when we look at the entire street of Midtown Boulevard and go there and see it and feel it, I just feel that coming at the end of it could have been made a more powerful statement than what is being done at this moment.
Neil, excuse me a second, are you referring to just the liner retail, or you talking about?
Just the liner, because I had two design stores in Midtown. I had to move out of the garage because we were not getting any pedestrian traffic. So the idea of putting something on the south end, I think is very, very strong for those retail establishments that suffered. But I'm talking now only on architecture in terms of why one used the steel form.
I think the steel form is only the southern end, and we wanted to kind of evoke. This used to be the container yard, and we wanted to evoke a little bit of the beginning of what that was, without taking over the rest of the building. So it's really just a moment in the articulation of the project, which is the southern end. that fronts that green space, that it will stay green. If I may, I think that the feeling that you're referring to is the one that is created in each one of the 20-foot setback in front of the restaurants.
Correct.
And that is in place. All of the substantial part of the retail that we're creating here is set back 20 feet from the sidewalk, so that as each tenant comes in, whether they are a restaurant or a retailer, they'll be able to articulate that frontage as outdoor dining in the way that will reinforce each one of their stores and their venues. So we're leaving the space without articulating it, because we've learned that when each one of the tenants that come in, they'll like to probably design that as long as, and reinforce whatever it is that they are trying to do, whether it is outdoor dining or if it is an extension of the retail store into the sidewalk. So I think part of that feeling that you're referring to is not here yet, because we feel that each tenant is going to be able to come in and do that for each one of the stores. When they come in.
One more question. I think your last comment is a very, very important one, in that it has to do with what the space used to be as a container space. I think that should be your opening statement henceforth, because it's something that most people cannot comprehend what that space was, and I think it does a lot for the neighborhood to see some semblance back to that, and maybe that grid, I would back off from my opposition to the grid, provided that it's there for that purpose. With respect to, can I jump into, while I have the floor, to Walmart?
Of course.
And this has to do with transportation and traffic that is on North Miami Avenue, starting from 4 o'clock. It's wicked.
Yes.
And I need to hear more about what is being done with that in terms of curb cuts into the left hand into, let's see what street is that, 31st?
31st at the
Yes.
north edge.
Right now, we have on-street parking on both sides in front of Petmart, and we're having, the south garage is not populated yet. It will be populated once Walmart is there. And there's no left turn coming out of that space. There's no cut there. Are we looking at putting a cut on North Miami Avenue?
John? This one.
Right now, we can only go right going north on 31st once you come out.
Good afternoon. I'm John McWilliams with Kimlee Horn and Associates. I'm the traffic engineer helping out on this project. You're correct. Right now, 31st Avenue is actually restricted by what we call a directional median opening that doesn't allow left turns from the side street, 31st Street, out to North Miami Avenue. What we're proposing, and we're continuing to work with Miami-Dade County, is to remove that restriction and place a full access traffic signal at that location. So that'll allow movements in all directions. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Thank you. You may take it.
Anthony?
Yeah, so just, I have some, hello, how are you? I have some questions, but I just want to understand the last statement. 31st Street is, today is which way?
It's right turn only.
So it goes east only?
It goes north.
It's a two-way street. What happens is at North Miami Avenue, for instance, if you're headed westbound from Midtown towards North Miami Avenue, you're forced to make a right turn to head north on North Miami Avenue. In the future, you'll be able to make a left and a right because we'll remove that restriction and install a traffic signal.
And this is to gain access to the traffic, I mean, the delivery area that you're proposing?
Well, twofold. I mean, obviously, the delivery area is off of 31st Street, but we also have an entrance to our parking garage off 31st Street.
Yeah.
So it'll provide access into and out of that. We also have a secondary access point on North Miami Avenue towards the southern end of the site, and that allows northbound right turns into the site from North Miami Avenue and westbound right turns out of the site on North Miami Avenue. You cannot make a left into or out of that, that particular driveway because the median is not wide enough. That's where it tapers down as it heads towards 29th Street. The median is not wide enough to provide a left turn lane. So we're comfortable with that right in, right out scenario. We think it'll help pull a lot of traffic into the store, into the parking garage without interfacing with the main pedestrian areas along Midtown Boulevard and 31st.
Okay. What we have here is kind of interesting because we have a big box architecture, and then we have a liner on the one side. And what Mr. Bermejo was saying is, I don't know if I'm correct in my statement, but you probably were asking why not have a liner on North Miami Avenue, if that's the case.
That was not the case, but I'll
Yeah.
when I get into it, I'll.
So, and there's an interesting articulation of the architecture. On one side, you know, Walmart is producing a sort of like a corporate architecture with brick and some articulation to make it look like a pedestrian-oriented street, which was observed over there by Mr. Neal. But on the other side, we have this liner that is very, provides a lot of diversity of architecture. From one side, it's like exposed steel, and the other side is concrete, and there's a recessed area and non-recessed area. So it's a lot of stuff happening here on the same block, on the same building on one application. The question I have is this parking that is shown on the liner on the second level, does that connect with the parking? It doesn't make sense from the plans.
Connect
It's
with
different
which parking?
geometry. There's a different geometry here. This has, so I don't understand if somebody can explain this parking here that goes like that. It does not match with this. So, and then it's also interesting to note that, I guess everybody understands this, but the third level parking is open parking.
Yes.
Correct.
Open parking to the sky. There's no roof or anything.
Correct.
Okay. And so there would be issues of drainage, issues of, I don't know what these lines are. You know, they're just painting on the concrete or something, or are these trees, or what is it?
It's currently shown as striping just for ease of car maneuverability.
It would be like an immense concrete slab there. You know, there would be concrete up the kazoo on the third level.
Well, one of the comments from the staff was regarding the third level parking, and that's an area where we are getting clarification from them and taking a look at again as a way to soften the third level parking. So I can't say that it's going to be a sea of concrete and slab, or if it's going to be a sea of vegetation. We're starting to take a look at.
Well, there should not be either or. I mean,
Correct.
there should be a happy medium. There should be some areas, there should be some, maybe a couple covered spots, or maybe a couple, I don't know how you're going to do it. You know, you have waterproofing problems and all kinds of stuff if you put trees there and stuff. But I would suggest that something be done to soften this area because it's very large. And the way that you have distributed the exits, they're all at the perimeter of the building.
Yes.
there's just, you have to go to the outside all the time. So there's just a lot of walking in the open sky. If it rains or something, maybe there should be a covered walkway to one stair in case there's a rain or something. I don't know, it rains a lot in Miami. And what's the reason that they stayed away from the North Miami Avenue side of the building? There is a part of it, is there like another story coming up here?
That's a product of drive aisle widths and parking stall depths. And we're going to utilize that portion as the project furthers along and we have the mechanical engineers taking a look at mechanical systems. We need to provide areas where the late question, oh, I need 1,000 square feet, where do we get it from? So
you might build here.
we may enclose that. We may create as green space. We also need areas for cart corrals, so we have a place to store the shopping carts to eliminate runaway carts.
I think that that should be submitted as a complete building. I mean, we can't just approve something that we don't know what it is. Eventually.
On the third level?
On the third level,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes, Mr. Sampson, if I may, one of the comments that we've had in working with their design team is a reference to SD 27.2 design standards, which require for rooftops to be concealed, either with landscape, tree wells, trellises, and other forms of other treatments as a requirement of the design standards. So that's a good observation on your part.
Okay. And one question, that on the east side, what is that space that has an X next to the stair? It is also shown with an X here.
That is the small X on the screen?
No, next to the stairway, there's something that...
The large X.
Yeah, the large X.
That is, it's an open air loading area, a product of having bread trucks for the retail liner along Midtown Avenue. We don't want to have them driving through the parking area, so clearances are very tight, and bread trucks will not be able to fit to the west of the main ramp. So that is...
Are we talking about the same thing? I'm talking about this.
Oh, that's a freight elevator. The small, yeah, that size X.
Okay, it's not shown on any... So there is like, there would be vehicular access to that area? To this area here, loading service, where it says?
Where it says loading and service, that'll be delivery truck access. That is not customer access.
So you are like, breaking up this, articulation of covered area that is meant for pedestrians and stuff, no?
Well, that location is on the second floor. So we are not having pedestrian access and traffic on the second level.
Only on the second floor?
Yes.
How do you get
One of
there?
the aspects on Midtown Boulevard that we ran into was how do you service those retailers? And so what we've designed is a loading dock that is off the street, so delivery trucks are not holding up.
So it's accessible from the second story parking of Walmart?
Correct.
Okay, I understand. I'm sorry, I just made a mistake.
Okay. Yes. Anything delivered will be to that service and loading area, and that freight elevator goes down to the first level. And so a benefit to this is that we aren't delivering from Midtown Boulevard, which if you've driven down it, you'll catch the occasional UPS truck stopping you.
Okay, because, if you do build on that area, this section will change, okay? You will have a different...
Well, that's a high bay space. So on the second floor plan of the Class 2 submittal, there's a large X.
Yeah. Okay, I understand.
Then how do you service the retail to the south?
The,
You know, the liner retail on the south, how is that being serviced then? Because I don't see that.
so after the products are in the freight elevator down onto the first floor, it's front door delivery.
Correct, because they're small retail.
It's small retail, bread trucks and whatnot.
Are you talking about this area here?
The bottom portion,
This one here?
you know, the retail that falls from here. Okay.
And one final thing, there is another building to the south of Walmart, is that correct? So this facade is actually built against that building, all right?
Correct,
And
yes.
this is a stucco facade? Stucco?
It'll be either stucco or precast.
Okay.
And both properties have a build-to line right at the property line, so it abuts a building.
Okay, I don't have any more questions.
I have a question made for staff and the applicant for Walmart. Retail support space, how do you define it and how the staff defines that?
Retail support space, as defined by us, is back-of-house storage, offices for functions of the retail, toilet rooms, janitor closets, anything to support retail, not sales space.
Right, so not something that would be pedestrian, public use?
Correct.
Animate any area of the streetscape?
Yes.
It'd be a back-of-house area. Maybe not
Right.
mechanical room, but basically back-of-house. Is that
Right.
correct? On the second level of your plans, you show gray areas along the liner building. Is that gray area mechanical space for the functioning of the Walmart store?
It is mechanical space for the Walmart store as well as the retailers on Midtown.
Okay. That,
Okay.
is that habitable space, staff? Just want to get some basic questions and then I'll give some comments.
Okay.
Okay, I see that, no.
Well, I know you can, but I'd rather hear it from staff and have it in the record.
Right now, it's not being presented as habitable space. It's more of a service area for them, as you mentioned, to store equipment and so forth.
So following along those same lines, that it's not habitable space, and the intent of the code in this district is to have along certain particular streets of public importance like Midtown Boulevard, liner buildings with habitable space, which in this case means the ground and second level. Why isn't that one of your staff comments? Because that to me would mean that there's an issue there right now as presented in the plans.
They are allowed a liner to the building, not necessarily habitable space, if I may.
I think they have two options. Either they set back considerably, which would be a problem for you, or you got to provide habitable space in a liner building as opposed to, dummy architecture where everything is fake, or just dressing behind some mechanical equipment room, which is not the idea.
They're actually allowed to have a building facade.
Yes, and they have that.
That's what they've provided at this time. Liner uses, I'm quoting from the definitions, liner users are storefronts and building fronts that conceal larger use from view, such as parking garage. So they are allowed to have the building fronts on this edge.
Yeah, no. I'm not disputing that. My point is that the whole idea of a liner building is that the liner building is a habitable use, that there's actual use behind it. It's not parking, it's not a mechanical pump room with a facade.
They're providing it on the ground floor, but the application as they have presented is just
Okay, and what do we require? Isn't it required on every, if I had a 7-story parking garage and a liner building is required, isn't that liner building required on every single level of the parking garage? Or
No.
you're saying no, it's only
We're
the ground
saying,
level?
that is correct, no.
It's only the ground level?
It's only the ground level. On the higher levels, then they have the liner uses, which are facades. They still have to be articulated. There still has to be, articulation and movement to the facade. But the habitable space, as we would understand it, is on the ground level.
It's only required for the ground level?
That is correct.
Okay, great. And your definition, do you have a different definition than theirs as far as the retail support space?
I sincerely hope not. But the retail support space, I think, is something that they have come up with. It, for us, is nothing more than just, the use to house equipment or shopping carts in their case. But it's not defined in the code per se.
Okay, along North Miami Avenue, what is the requirement for retail animated, along the entire lineage? Are there different percentages of what you must provide in terms of basically?
Visibility, glazing, things like, yes, there are.
With animated, that'll trigger animation to which may typically refer to store windows, entrances to retail stores, et cetera, as opposed to areas that are, like this, like storage or back-of-house areas.
Right, on the
Are there
ground floor, yeah,
percentages?
there's percentages in the code, and we are working with them as far as the visibility and the activation to make sure that they actually meet that. They're supposed to come back to us with additional details.
Do they currently meet it?
I'm sorry?
Do they currently meet it?
As presented, I think that their numbers may be a little off.
That means they don't?
Because they don't. They had taken some areas into consideration that staff did not agree with, so they're having to come back to us to make sure that they actually meet the letter of the code, to make sure that those percentages are on point.
Okay.
And that's our comment.
The headroom in your parking garage, since you are servicing the liner retail fronting on Midtown Boulevard, what is that headroom on that second level?
On the high bay space?
Yes, I mean, you're bringing trucks up there.
Correct. If you look at page 01, 03, you'll see a large X. That large X is open to the sky, so that part of the second floor is getting natural light. And that's to allow for the truck maneuvering. And then to the east of that large X is the high bay structure for the truck to be under.
So you don't anticipate that the guy driving the truck is going to try to make a right turn and then back into that space, right? They're going to be PhDs from MIT, right? They're driving up there.
Short of doing headache bars.
Huh?
And he's going to back down the ramp.
Right.
Going to back down the ramp.
Right.
And those are two brave moves.
Right.
A bread truck backing down a ramp.
I mean, you know what we're referring to? I mean, it's drawn, but I sincerely doubt that it's going to really work. And you saw how that guy driving a bus in Miami International Airport killed a number of people, by making the wrong turn. I mean, that, I think it's something to look, I mean, it can be resolved. It's not doesn't kill the project, but you got to make that work. I only have one more comment.
Sorry, what page are you?
I'm looking at page, I guess, 801-02.
Yeah, 02 is the second
03.
floor.
The issue is that, if you front end, when you're going to leave, you're not going to go down the ramp in reverse. That's for sure. So if you back up, you're going to be backing up into the structure, and there's no headroom there because all your sections show otherwise. So that has to be somehow correct, or you got a big issue there. I mean, I'm saving you a change order.
Right.
Free of charge.
We're working also, they're working with transportation, which still has some reviews to go through to make sure that this actually can work the way they have presented it. Some of the concerns are already expressed in the comments that have been read to you, but they continue to work with the Office of Transportation to make sure that the circulation pattern actually works, the actual ramping is appropriate. There might be a concern on the right-hand turn on 31st Street coming out of that ramp by trucks. So that remains a concern for the city that has to be addressed, because we certainly don't want trucks of any size going into Midtown Boulevard. As much as we can prevent it, we're going to try to do that.
Mark, my only last, I may have others, but right now, the only one that comes to mind is, and I'm sure there's a reason why you have one architect that goes to a great length in terms of studying the vocabulary of the area and develops, a set of plans with a special design proposal, and then you get a splinter on the side done by another equally good architect, but with a totally different idea, and they're all the same project that should have been conceived in reality as one. It is the most bizarre thing that I have seen, and I've been on this board probably longer than anybody here. I hate to say that, and I've never seen that. So, other than the fact that maybe there are two different property owners, but still one project conceived and driven by one. I mean, you would not be having a liner building if you didn't have Walmart. Let's face it. So, I mean, where's the tail and where's the dog? It's very clear. I mean, the dog is Walmart, and the tail is the liner building. So why can't the two be integrated in a well-designed project before us? It's totally beyond me. Doesn't sound right, doesn't look right, and it feels wrong. And so, and you don't need to respond.
No,
Really,
I'd like to.
It's really not a question. It's not a question. I'm making a statement. There isn't a right or wrong. It's just a fact. And I tell you, if you were sitting over here, you'd be saying the same thing. So I just want to say, I mean, I think the other things that I have here, I think staff alluded to. I mean, the things that got to be worked out for this project to be successful and move forward. But I mean, if the left side of my head itches, I scratch it with my left hand, and if it's the right side, I'll use my right hand. And that's a normal and a reasonable thing to do. To have a project and have one little piece designed differently, not just different person, but different vocabulary, different angle, different philosophy. You kind of, and if that particular liner was an element of continuity with what was to the north or the south, then I could say, well, they are the liner architects for Midtown, and this is what always was intended. But it isn't. So I'm at a loss as to why